1967. Los Angeles. A film star quietly knocked on a dojo door and asked Bruce Lee for something. The answer shattered his ego completely. The knock came at 6:47 p.m. on a Thursday evening in March. Precise. 3 taps. Not aggressive. Not hesitant. Just deliberate. Bruce Lee was alone in the training hall on Sepulveda Boulevard, working through forms in the fading afternoon light that cut through the high windows. The dojo was small. Maybe 30 feet square, wooden floor polished from years of bare feet, walls bare except for a single scroll with Chinese calligraphy and a wooden staff mounted horizontally. Bruce stopped mid-movement. Listened. The knock came again. Same rhythm. Same firmness. He walked to the door and opened it. Steve McQueen stood in the threshold. Not Steve McQueen the movie star. Though he was already that, already famous from The Great Escape and The Magnificent Seven, already one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. This was Steve McQueen the man, wearing jeans and a plain white t-shirt, no sunglasses, no entourage, no armor of celebrity. His hands were empty. His face was serious. "Mr. Lee," he said, "I need to talk to you." Bruce studied him for 3 long seconds. Then stepped aside. "Come in." Bruce didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Steve walked into the dojo like he was entering a church, careful, respectful, aware he was on unfamiliar ground. His motorcycle boots came off without being asked. He stood in his socks on the wooden floor, looking around at the simple space, so different from the Hollywood sets and mansions and parties that filled his days. Bruce closed the door. Turned. Waited. "I've been watching you," Steve said. "At the tournaments. At Ed Parker's studio. The way you move. The way you—" He stopped, searching for words. "The way you make everyone else look like they're moving underwater." Bruce said nothing. Just listened. "I want you to teach me," Steve continued. His voice was steady, but there was something underneath it, not quite desperation, but close. Something hungry. "I'll pay whatever you want. Name the price. I have time, I have money, I'll make it work around my shooting schedule. I need to learn what you know." This was 1967. Bruce Lee was teaching privately, training a small group of students, mostly serious martial artists, some actors who wanted to move better on screen. He was selective. Careful. His reputation in the Los Angeles martial arts community was growing, but he wasn't yet the global icon he would become. He was still building. Still proving. And here was Steve McQueen, one of the biggest movie stars in the world, asking to become his student. Most instructors would have said yes immediately. The money. The prestige. The connection to Hollywood royalty. Bruce walked slowly to the center of the dojo. His bare feet made no sound on the wood. He turned to face Steve, his expression unreadable. "Why?" Bruce asked simply. Steve blinked. "What? Why do you want to learn? What are you looking for?" "I want to be able to move like you. To fight like you. To—" "No," Bruce interrupted, his voice quiet but absolute. "Those are goals. I'm asking about the reason underneath. Why are you here, Steve McQueen?" The use of his full name, not just Steve, but Steve McQueen, landed with weight. It was both acknowledgement and challenge. "I know who you are. Now tell me who you really are." Steve's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being questioned like this. In Hollywood, people said yes to him. Directors, producers, women, they all said yes. He was the king of cool, the rebel, the man other men wanted to be. But here, in this small dojo with afternoon light fading to evening, none of that mattered. "I'm angry," Steve said finally, the words coming hard. "All the time. I'm angry and I don't know how to." He gestured vaguely at himself, at the air, at everything. "I fight on sets. I race motorcycles too fast. I pick fights in bars. I'm going to get myself killed or hurt someone else, and I don't know how to stop. Bruce nodded slowly. You want control? Yes. You want to channel the anger? Yes. You want to become dangerous so you can stop being dangerous? Steve looked at him sharply. Yes. Exactly that. Bruce walked in a slow circle around Steve, not threatening, just observing, the way a teacher observes a new student, looking for strengths and weaknesses, reading the body for its story. You're used to getting what you want, Bruce said. Usually. You're used to people saying yes to you. Most people. You're used to being the toughest person in the room. Steve smiled slightly. On a movie set anyway. Bruce stopped circling. Stood directly in front of Steve, maybe 6 feet away. I'll teach you, he said. Steve's face lit up. Thank you. I won't. Under one condition. The smile faded slightly. Okay. What condition? Away from the cameras, Bruce made a choice no one expected. You surrender, Steve McQueen, Bruce said quietly. Steve stared at him. What? When you walk through that door, Bruce gestured to the entrance, you leave Steve McQueen outside. The movie star. The rebel. The tough guy. The image. All of it. In here you are nobody. You are just a student. You bow when I tell you to bow. You fall when I tell you to fall. You listen when I tell you to listen. And you never, never, tell me who you are in Hollywood. The silence stretched between them. Steve's hands had curled into fists without him realizing it. His whole life was built on that image. Steve McQueen, the icon. The rebel king. The man who bent the world to his will. Directors rewrote scripts for him. Studios built films around him. Women fell at his feet. And this man, this martial arts instructor who didn't even have a major film credit yet, was telling him to surrender all of it. I can't do that, Steve said. Then you can't train here, Bruce replied simply. No anger. No judgment. Just fact. Do you know who I? Steve stopped himself. Took a breath. Do you understand what you're asking? Completely. I'm Steve McQueen. Not in here, you're not. Steve turned away, walked toward the door, stopped. His hand was on the doorframe. He could leave. Walk away. Find another instructor who would be thrilled to teach him, who would take his money and his fame and ask for nothing in return. But he didn't leave. Because something in Bruce Lee's voice, that absolute certainty, that complete lack of need for Steve's approval, or money or fame, was exactly what Steve had been searching for without knowing it. He'd spent his whole life building walls. Being tougher than the next guy. Never showing weakness. Never surrendering. And it was destroying him from the inside. Subscribe and leave a comment, because the most important part of this story is still unfolding. Steve turned back to face Bruce. If I do this, if I agree to your condition, what happens when someone finds out? When the press gets wind of it? When other students see me here? They won't, Bruce said. You train alone. Private sessions. Early morning or late evening. No one else here. No photographers. No witnesses. What happens in this dojo stays in this dojo. Why? Because this isn't about your career. This isn't about adding trained by Bruce Lee to your resume. This is about you becoming who you actually are instead of who you pretend to be. Steve felt something crack inside his chest. Some wall he'd been maintaining for so long he'd forgotten it was there. Okay, he said quietly. Okay, what? I accept your condition. When I'm in here, I'm not Steve McQueen. I'm just Steve. Bruce nodded once. Good. Be here tomorrow. 5 a.m. Wear loose clothing. No jewelry. No watch. Nothing that tells you what time it is or who you are. 5 a.m., Steve repeated. If you're late, the door stays locked. I won't be late. Bruce walked to the door, opened it. The gesture was clear. This conversation is over. Steve slipped his boots back on, stepped into the evening air of Los Angeles, and walked to his motorcycle parked at the curb. He sat on the bike for a long time before starting it, staring at the dojo door, processing what had just happened. For the first time in his adult life, someone had told him no. Had demanded something from him instead of offering everything. Had seen through the armor to the angry, scared man underneath. And Steve McQueen had surrendered. The next morning, 4:58 a.m., Steve knocked on the dojo door. 3 taps. Same rhythm. Bruce opened it. "You're early. Didn't want to risk being late. Come in." What followed would reshape Steve McQueen's life in ways no film role ever could. Bruce didn't teach him flashy moves. Didn't teach him how to look good fighting on camera. For the first 3 weeks, Steve didn't throw a single punch. Instead, Bruce taught him to stand. Just stand. Proper structure. Weight distribution. Breathing. Hour after hour, Bruce would walk around Steve, adjusting his posture by millimeters, explaining how the body should stack, how tension lived in the shoulders and jaw, how real power came from relaxation, not force. "You're holding on too tight," Bruce would say, tapping Steve's shoulder. "Let go." "I am letting go." "No. You're trying to let go." "That's different. Actually let go." It was maddening. Steve wanted to hit things. He wanted to learn devastating techniques. He wanted to become dangerous. But Bruce made him stand. And breathe. And feel. "You came here angry," Bruce said one morning, 4 weeks into training. "You're still angry. But now you're starting to feel where the anger lives. In your shoulders. In your jaw. In your fists that clench even when you're trying to relax." Steve realized Bruce was right. He could feel it now. The constant tension. The coiled readiness for violence. "What do I do with it?" Steve asked. "You don't do anything with it. You just see it. Acknowledge it. Let it be there without feeding it or fighting it. That's it. Just notice it." For now. 6 weeks in, Bruce finally let Steve move. Not fighting. Not sparring. Just simple forms. Shifting weight. Turning. Stepping. Incredibly basic movements that Steve performed with all the grace of a drunk elephant. "You move like you're angry at the floor," Bruce observed. "I am angry at the floor." "Why?" "Because this is boring. I want to learn to fight." Bruce smiled, a rare expression. "You still think fighting is about violence, isn't it?" "No. Fighting is about awareness. Timing. Distance. Angle. If you have to use violence, you've already made 3 mistakes. Show me the turn again." Steve turned. Bruce shook his head. "Your hip moves before your shoulder. Everything telegraphs." An opponent would read that turn before you even started it. Again. They drilled that single turn for 45 minutes. By the end, Steve was drenched in sweat, furious, and something else, focused. Completely, utterly focused in a way he never experienced. "Better," Bruce said. "Again tomorrow." But what followed would stay with everyone who witnessed it, forever. 3 months into training, something shifted. Steve arrived one morning and Bruce was already in the center of the dojo, moving through a form, fluid, precise, impossibly fast in some moments and impossibly slow in others. Steve had never seen Bruce actually demonstrate before. He'd explained, adjusted, corrected, but never shown. Now he showed. The form lasted maybe 90 seconds. When it ended, Bruce stood perfectly still, breathing normally, and looked at Steve. "What did you see?" Bruce asked. Steve struggled to find words. "I saw... I don't know. Poetry? Violence? Both? You saw control. Every movement had a purpose. Nothing wasted. Nothing extra. That's what I've been teaching you. Not how to hurt people. How to exist with precision. I don't move like that. Not yet. But you're starting to understand what it means to move like that. Show me the turn." Steve turned. This time, everything moved together. Hip, shoulder, center, all unified. Bruce nodded. Good. You're beginning to let go of Steve McQueen. They trained together for 2 years. Every session at 5 a.m. No cameras. No witnesses. No press ever found out. Steve never told anyone what happened in that dojo, but people noticed the change. He stopped picking fights. His on-set explosions decreased. Directors remarked that he'd become eerily calm between takes, present in a way he'd never been before. Years later, after Bruce died, Steve was asked in an interview about his biggest regret. "I never got to thank him properly," Steve said quietly. "He didn't teach me martial arts. He taught me how to be nobody. And that saved my life." Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. On the day of Bruce Lee's funeral in 1973, Steve McQueen arrived alone. No entourage. No photographers. He stood at the back of the crowd in a plain black suit, tears streaming down his face. In his pocket, he carried a white business card Bruce had given him on their final training session. On it, Bruce had written in Chinese characters, "Empty your cup." Steve kept that card until the day he died.